Hi, I am so excited to have an expert with me, none other than Dr. Williamson. And before we get started, I'm going to ask her to provide a brief introduction.
Well, first, let me thank you, Dr. Bell, for this opportunity to speak on a topic that is extremely passionate to the work that I do. Greetings, everyone. I am Dr. Brenda K. Williamson. I have over 35 years of experience in the field of education, starting out as a kindergarten teacher to currently working with students who are pursuing education as their profession. I have also had the opportunity to serve on various boards to extend my education as well. So I am just so super excited, Dr. Bell, to get into this conversation. And I think the listeners will glean more of who I am and what I have done.
I am
And plus,
so,
she has the, I'm sorry, go ahead.
go ahead, please.
And I was going to say to go to your website, they can still get a little bit more of my bio there as well.
I am so privileged to have the esteemed Dr. Williamson here. So let's get started. How do you define preschool to prison pipeline?
How I define preschool, prison to pipeline is first the age range of preschool age children so that we're all on the same page. Primarily, we think of preschoolers between the ages of 3 to 5. And one may be saying, what could a child 3 to 5 do that society is already looking at them into the prison system? And it does hurt my feelings and my heart to think that. But preschool to prison pipeline, we are looking primarily at children who are ages 3 to 5, that because of their behaviors based upon the adult interpretation
Mhm.
of those behaviors are not appropriate. So therefore, from research, along with other entities of public policy, we're already saying that those children who are suspended or expelled from early care and education programs,
Mhm.
child care centers, will be incarcerated. They will drop out of school, and our females will get pregnant at a young age. So therefore, they are not looked upon as productive citizens of society already at the ages of 3 to 5. And I will share very quickly, I know I
Sure.
said 3 to 5, but I receive phone calls quite often, Dr. Bell, from parents who have toddler age children that child care facilities have put those children out. Suspension already at a 24, not even 36 months old child. Is that the destiny that we want for our children? No. And I know you have some other questions that we're going to focus in particularly on
Sure.
children who look like you and I.
Right. So to lead to the next question, you mentioned challenging behaviors. So how do we as educators be mindful of the perhaps implicit biases that we
Mm,
have? Let's just say if Raheem does something, right? There's
yes.
zero tolerance for his
Mhm.
behavior. But if Jonathan does something, then there's an acceptance of his behavior. So how does what I just described feed into
Mhm.
the pipeline?
So when you use the term implicit bias, the definition is what am I feeling internally about a
Mm-hmm.
child of color versus a child of the dominant race.
Mm.
Dominant race is the white child. What are we learning? What are we instructing from the stereotypes that are put out in the atmosphere, particularly for our Black boys? Walter Gilliam has said for children, particularly Black boys, these are three things that the teacher will look for. Three B's. He will be Black, he is a boy, and he is big. So, with that perception of my implicit bias, I'm immediately going to look at this Black boy and recall those characteristics, which means he is going to be aggressive. He is going to be the child that's going to throw a toy or is going to hit another child. Does not mean it is so, but because that is what has been ingrained in me and has not assimilated to our whiteness to sit quietly and to listen to the instructions given by the teacher. So that already puts a target on the Black boys' back and also, Dr. Bell, on the Black girls' back. Kimberly Crenshaw also coined the term adultification, where our teachers are not seeing these children. Remember, we said preschool was 3 to 5. I don't see them as a 3 to 5-year-old child. I see them as an adult doing adult behaviors that are not appropriate. So that implicit bias comes into play because I have all those layers in the back of my mind that these are the behaviors that this Black boy or this Black girl is going to exhibit in the learning environment.
Excellent. When you was talking, I was thinking about what I used to tell my son when he was in elementary school beginning. I used to say to him quite often, you are, and the world will see you as a big Black boy.
Yes, yes,
And I see more than that. I see potential in all of that.
yes.
And so, knowing all of that and based on what you said, what can the community do to counteract the push
Mhm.
towards the pipeline? So, what can we do? And when you,
Yes.
not only the community, but parental and family influences as well. You can talk on that.
I love that because we're going to come back to the African proverb. It takes a village to raise a
Yes.
child. And within this village, there are different aspects of what one brings
Mhm.
to the community. So, what I am saying is for our parents, I want parents, Dr. Bell, to have positive affirmations for this Black boy and this Black girl, to know that they are beautiful, they are bright, to hear
Mhm.
that in the morning, to hear it in the evening, and for them to internalize it. So even if I don't hear anyone, intrinsically, I am saying, the teacher may say that I am not a good child. However, I know that I am. When we look at the policies that we are putting in place, how and what are we doing so that children 3 to 5 will not be put out of early childhood programs? For a teacher may say, I can't deal any longer with Jamal. I want Jamal to go over here to Dr. Bell's class. Jamal is no longer in the class for him to get his basic academic knowledge with his peers. So what I have done is suspended him from my classroom and put him
Mhm.
in yours. So we must take a deeper dive in our
Mhm.
professional development along with our coursework for culturally sensitive practices for our children. Because what we've been talking about right now, Dr. Bell, is for our educators to truly understand the Black African American culture. For an example, when it is circle time and we're sitting here and the teacher, and I've been guilty of this because this is what the educational system taught me. We all sit in a circle, we're sitting on our bottoms, our legs are crisscrossed, our hands are in our lap. So if I have a child, Jamal again, who wants to stand up, should I stand up here and reprimand Jamal? No, I shouldn't. If Jamal needs a widget, but he is still actively engaged in the conversation, but I'm saying, put your hands in your lap and look at me, Jamal. Those are part of our professional development and our education. Then for the community at large as well, I will share that there is one group that I am working with. It is the North Carolina Coalition for Inclusion and Not Expulsion. And
Mm.
within this group, and please Google it, within this group, Dr. Bell, what we are looking at is what we're talking about now from the various audiences, via parents, be it policymakers, researchers, etc. how we can come together, because we don't want to do this work in a silo. Because when studies are coming out and they're telling us right now that our children are 3 times
Mhm.
more likely to get expelled or suspended from early care and education, child care programs than the K-12 student, something is wrong. But we have to look at the root. And the root is what is going on and what are the resources and how are we working with this family. Home visits, as I always tell my
Mhm.
students, it does not mean that you're going into the child's home always. I can have a home visit anywhere that you're comfortable, because our ultimate goal should be what is the best way to instruct, to work, and build upon the strengths of this child. I'm sorry. When I'm passionate about a
No,
topic, Dr.
please
Bill, I
talk.
can
Please
go on
talk.
and on.
Please, please. I am learning and engaging as well. So you are good. But I'm gonna ask you a actually it feeds into our discussion. It probably is going to overlap, but I'm gonna read this because I want to be intentional again. If you can change one belief about early childhood educators and what they hold, especially for Black boys, what would it be?
I would change the perception that our Black boys are aggressive, unattentive, and uneducatable, because
Mm.
that's coming back to those implicit biases that I
Mhm.
have, and
Right,
to
right.
really observe. Walter Gilliam, again, he's one of the most noted researchers centered
Mhm.
around this topic. And they took teachers and asked them to watch video clips and to look for challenging inappropriate behaviors and an eye tracking system. The reality was there was no inappropriate behavior, but the white teachers focused primarily on the Black boy
Mhm.
and said that the Black boy was the one exhibiting inappropriate behaviors. So that's part of what I'm saying, Dr. Bell, is we must do a mind shift to not
Mhm.
automatically look at, particularly the Black male child, to say that if something happens, that it was him. I have been in the classroom, Dr. Bell,
Mhm.
doing observations, and you can always tell the child that the teacher is constantly calling
Mhm.
out for behaviors. I am sitting there, an act took place, and you know the first thing the children and the teacher started saying? It was Jamal, and Jamal was not even there that day.
Mm.
So that tells us that we're already perpetuating and setting up an atmosphere for this child to feel worthless, not valued at 3 to 5. So, what's going to happen when he goes into the kindergarten system? He's going to get labeled, and next thing we know, he will be in special education classes.
Mhm.
And I'm not tapping into his greatness
Mhm.
as his teacher. So, whoop, okay, I'm sorry again because I
No,
get
no,
passionate.
you're good. So, based on my experience, when I was actually teaching middle school in particular, and when my son was in school, elementary, middle school, in addition, when I hear staff training,
Mhm.
professional development,
Yes.
very seldom do I see an agenda that intentionally talk
Mhm.
about working with Black boys
Yes.
and educators. It's always generic
Yes.
training and it's surface and it's not intentional. I make the analogy in that when I go to the doctor, I am particular. My toe hurt, my
Yes.
finger hurts. But
Yes.
when it comes to education, at times it is not intentional. But what's so
Yes.
interesting, Dr. Williamson, the data is there. So if you
Yes.
So if you could address that for as the professional development that may not be targeted to the population.
Okay. And I'll bring it initially back to the preschool age
Sure.
children. So, some colleagues and I, and what we are doing is putting together strategies, looking at the whole day that is centered around the Black child and Blackness. When I am walking into an environment, the learning environment, excuse me, am I seeing images that look like this Black child? Because if I only see images of predominantly white children, white families, then how does that make me feel walking in here
Yes.
as a
Yes.
Black child? Then I am looking at the books, and thanks to you for writing your book, where the main character looks like me, is a part of the affirmation along with mirroring. And we thank Dr. Rudine Sims, Bishop, who also talks about mirrors. Children are needing books where the main characters look like them so that I can say, my hair is like Dr. Bale's. Oh, I wear
Right,
glasses
right, right,
and he
right.
looks like me. So that's a part of that professional
Yes, yes,
development
yes.
component that we have to look. So then I will shift it over, Dr. Bale, to your middle schoolers. And another component that we are looking at with the North Carolina Coalition for Inclusion and Not Expulsion is restorative practices, because we want middle schoolers and even our preschoolers to have a voice in what is going on in their environment. Because for a lot of our children, our students, we're not listening to them. We are giving them directives, but we're not hearing how they're feeling. We're not validating their emotions.
Mhm.
And here is a space now, non judgmental, coming back to being intentional for you to sit here, because now I get the opportunity to tell you how I felt when this situation took place. Or maybe I misinterpreted 100% as the teacher in this classroom. So there is room for growth, but we must be ready for the shift. Because if we're not ready for the shift as adults, we're going to continue the same cycle for our students. And I don't want to see that, particularly for our Black and Brown children. We must empower them. They have a voice, and to understand their feelings and emotions and
Mhm.
how to respond in an appropriate way. Another quick example, Dr. Bell, and I know we're probably getting ready to start running out of time, is you and I can be in the learning environment, the classroom. We can see the
Yes.
same scenario, and we can interpret 100% different, because that has happened to me. I have had white co-teachers. She's telling me, you need to do this because that child did that. And I'm going, what did they do? I didn't see anything inappropriate with it. So it also goes back to, we need more field site experiences, then discuss what we see, and then begin to look at our plans. Because I
Sure.
tell my students, you want individual goal plans per child, but I need to talk to you too and to find out, what do you like? And then embed those pieces into the learning environment and what we're talking about. Because you and I both know, when a student, even our adult students, when they know that we care about them and for their well-being, they're going to do their best to give us what we expect. And I tell my students all the time, I have very high
That's
expectations.
right. That's right. That's
Yes.
right. That's right. I remember a situation. I was doing some tutoring in an elementary school, and I was walking down the hall, and I heard one of the administrators say, "Ask Dr. Bell," and it was two other staff people in the hall. And I'm thinking, what with me? So as I approached them, one said to me, "We have a kindergartner in the bathroom, and he would not come out." And I'm thinking, what? So can you go in the bathroom and get him out? And I'm thinking, you have a kindergarten in the bathroom and he won't come out. So I go into the bathroom. This little brother was standing against the wall.
Mhm.
I looked at him square in the eyes and I said, you are not having a good day. He turned around and left the bathroom. Oh, they were so grateful. And so I think about that situation. I don't know why he left the bathroom. Maybe because I was a black male, maybe because I had a suit and a bow tie on. I don't know. But only thing I know, he left the bathroom. And I began to talk with the administrator about the child's behavior and all these excuses. And I'm thinking, y'all would probably benefit for some PD
Yes.
that traditionally does not address the specific issues that you're going to face when you're
Right.
working with diverse population. So you have
Yeah.
to be, I think, intentional
Hmm.
about certain trainings. I'll say, let me be quiet because I get off as well. But okay, so
But I'm sorry, but Dr.
please
Bill,
go.
just very quickly, something resonated with me when you made that statement. And I thought about the iceberg and how we will talk with our adult students. Within the iceberg, we see what's above the water.
Yes,
So we have this child that's in front of us, just
yes,
like the young child, the kindergartner. But we don't know what is going on
that's right.
underneath the water of that iceberg. And that comes back to our PD as well.
Yes,
We must build relationships not
yes,
only with that child, but along with whoever is in their microsystem,
right.
because those are the important people in that child's life. And that's going to tell us more and more. Just a quick example again, when I was teaching my pre-kindergartners, I had one young girl, for whatever reason, black. Her mom would only do her hair once a week. And you know, that's kind of traditional sometime within the black community. You get it done on that Saturday or
Right,
Monday, and
right.
it's supposed to last all week. But anyway, the other children was talking about her hair. So I reached out to the mom, and the mom was like, I'm working. I just don't have time to do it, Miss Williamson. And I said, you know, I understand. Will you give us permission to do her hair? And the mom said, yes. Dr. Bell, it was amazing. It was almost like we had given this young girl a new lease
Mm-hmm.
on life because she felt good about who she was, and her peers was no longer talking about her hair. So it's those types of things that we must go above and beyond and say, oh, I'm
Yes.
only here to teach, and that's all I'm supposed to do. But again, it goes back to those core relationships with our
That's
family.
true, right? And that's why in the bathroom same that with the kindergartner, it was obvious to me he was not, something was not going well. And so
Mm-hmm.
I was not going to spend my time with those questions. So I just said to him, you are not having a good day. And that's
Yeah.
it. And so sometimes people, well, what's wrong? I'm not saying that's not good to ask. I'm not saying
Right.
that. But because I come from the mental health background as well,
Mm-hmm.
it's important for me at that moment to say to him, you are not having a good day. Because I saw it.
Yes. Yes.
All right.
But you gave validation because
Yes. And
sometimes
that's
that's all
important.
we want.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Definitely. But the compassion
Yes.
that you walked in there and validated him. And at
Yes.
that moment, he was like, I feel better now because you see
Yes.
me.
Yes.
Because, you know, we'll
Yes.
talk about being in the space or in the room and we're still invisible.
Yes. Yes.
And that's what it
Yes.
sounded as if this child had
Yes.
been invisible for so
Yes.
long. And all of a sudden, you just walked in looking like him,
Yes.
validating him. And now he was ready to go back to the
Yes.
classroom and do what he needed to do.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Now let's go back to what fused the preschool to prison pipeline and talk a little more about family influence. I know we touched on it earlier,
Yes.
So if we can talk about, you can talk about what can we do in families and communities in our home, parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles,
Mhm.
and cousins, as we
Right,
look at get away from that preschool to prison pipeline at home.
right. So in the homes, again, the affirmations are key. And to really engage in conversation, because as you're talking again, I was going back to my master thesis where I looked at parenting styles of the Black African American families based off of Diane Graham Rand work. And traditionally, for us, our families have been very authoritarian because of the
Mhm.
history, and slowly moving into authoritative, where we're beginning to have dialogue with our children. So, part of what our families really need to do is to engage in with our children more so
Mhm.
in conversations and talk about and model. Because a lot of times we just say, okay, innately this child is supposed to do A, B, and C. But if you haven't modeled it for them, or if you haven't engaged in conversation, then I don't know how to do those types of things. But sometimes as well, parenting groups where parents can really talk about what happened to them, their experiences,
Mhm.
because we parent the way our parents parented us until we learn better. And
When
to
we know
also
better, we
look,
do better.
that's it, that's it. And to also look at who is in our environment and the influences that they have
Mhm.
on
Mhm.
our children. A prime example, again, Dr. Bale, is when I was the director of a parent center. This 2-year-old little boy, he came in and he had what I had called the little sly walk, like I'm the man, and he
Mhm.
was short in stature. So I asked his mama, because you and I can foresee if things don't shift a little bit, the path that this child was on. Mom was young, and I'm not discounting her being a young parent, but
Mhm.
yet she needed someone to help mentor her in parenting with her son. So I talked to her and I said, I'm noticing how you address him when he comes in the
Mhm.
morning. And the first thing you tell me is, Miss Williamson, he's been bad all morning long. So he's just bad, just bad. And I'm like, he's hearing that. So his
Mhm.
behavior
Mhm.
is, my mama's told me I'm bad, so I have to be bad all day in here with Miss Williamson and my teachers. So I asked her to do this for me, Dr. Bell, excuse me. I said, I want you, when you go back to your community, do not allow anyone to say your son is bad.
Yes, yes,
I don't
yes,
want you to speak those letters. I want you to tell him that he is a handsome king,
yes. You
morning, noon,
preach
and
that.
night.
Yes.
So she did that for a week. I asked her, and I began to see his whole demeanor change from this little boy with, the
Mhm.
little side step on me. And he would walk in, his chest stuck out, head high. And I said, how has this been for you? And she said, Miss Williamson, I lost some friends. I says, well, if you don't mind, can you tell me why you
Mhm.
lost friends? She said, when I told them that I said, I'm fine with that, told them they could not call him bad,
That's right.
they moved on. I said, well, you know what? They weren't your friends because they need to see his greatness, not tearing down his inner worth. And as she began to see him change, I could hear the change in her conversation with him as well. So that piggies back on what you just asked in the question, Dr. Bale, because parents have to understand the words that they are using also is internalized and will become the outcome, because this is all I am hearing is the negatives and not the positives, because society at large is going to give us enough to deal with,
Yes,
and
yes,
I should
yes.
come to home for a safe haven to realize that. So those are like the key components I would say right now for parents and family members. It's really to be able to sit down and have those conversations and give them scenarios and to begin to watch. one who loves to journal, and to say, begin to journal what you see. Because once I can see the change, Dr. Bell, this is what occurred. Again, coming back to uplifting words, and if I hear something continuously. So I decided to call my students, these are college students,
Mm-hmm.
scholars. So I would address them as, good afternoon, Edward A. Scholar. So
Mm.
this is what happened. I addressed them as my A scholars. I had one young lady at the end of the semester. She came up and she was crying. I was thinking, well, what did I say that she is crying? She says, Dr. Williamson, you called me an A scholar all semester.
Mm.
I said, because you
Mm.
are. She said, I have never had a teacher who thought I could make an A.
Mm.
Now,
Mm.
again, these are college students. I'm not talking about a preschooler and I'm
Mm.
not talking about a middle schooler. And I said, but I want you to remember something. When you first started, your grades were D and Fs. At the end of the semester, you listened. And when I told you to go to the Learning Center and utilize those resources to help
Mm.
you, your end grade is a B. Look at where you started to where you've ended for me. Now, if you start here going forward with the rest of your classes, you will be that A,
Mm.
but you'll always be an A scholar to me because I'm looking at progression. So think for the empowerment for an adult student, what would that do for
Right.
3,
Right.
4, 5, 13-year old if we are pouring that into them in the beginning from their vessels of where they will be in adulthood by the time
Mm.
they come to us in our
Right.
respective colleges and universities? Yes.
Good. Good. So I want you to have the closing thought.
Okay.
Share whatever you need to share. It could be directions for us to do in the community. It could be to local administrators, whoever it may be. What should be our next step to in eradicating or weakening the preschool to prison pipeline?
Okay. Oh, I love that question. Let us first change preschool to prison pipeline. Because when we hear that, we're already saying that
Yes.
those children are headed to prison. Why can't we switch it to preschool to positive practices? And within
Mm.
those positive practices, it is coming back to all those layers within this child's center and central life. Their
Mm. Mm.
parents pouring into them, policymakers seeing the importance of spending money at early care and education as opposed to waiting and saying they'll be incarcerated and we'll spend money there.
Mm.
Spend it
Mm.
in the beginning, not over here
Mm.
at the end. Then let's look at those of us who are facilitating learning at our 2 and 4 year institutions. How are we doing
Mm.
culturally responsive practices,
Mm.
modeling within our own classes, our own work? So when they come out into the profession, I see that child as an individual child. I'm not sitting
Mm.
here saying, well, I remember in class that we talked about this big black boy is going to be
Mm.
my discipline child. No, let's remove that right there. Let us also look at how do we come to our legislators and say, we need more mental health consultants who are coming in,
Mm.
working with us
Mm.
for as far as our professional development, also working with the child as needed, working with the families, and let's look at restorative justice practices.
Mm.
Because again, we are engaging. Because for a lot of our Black children, particularly, they don't have the words of being able to articulate. So when
Mhm.
I'm young and don't have the words, I do strike out
Sure.
because I'm trying to get your attention and I don't know. But let us sit down and then to come back with more books where we are mirroring having positive outcomes for Black children to see themselves and the possibilities. Because books, as you and I both know, will take us
Mhm.
places that we
Yes.
may not ever go, but yet
Never
I
go.
have that knowledge. And to also look at our learning environments and make sure it is well representative of the children and the makeup of our classrooms. So when I look on that wall, I can see someone who looks like me.
Mhm.
If we can do those pieces, we will move closer towards eradicating suspension and expulsion, particularly of our Black children and our brown children, so that they have those same opportunities
Mhm.
as their white age peers.
Sure.
Oh, I'm
But
excited
you know
still.
what? I knew, I thought that was going to be the summary, but I just had another thought, a question in particular, which
Yes,
is sad to me in many ways, especially when we see some of our children headed
yes,
towards the pipeline.
yes,
And you're standing there saying, what more
yes,
can I do?
yes, yes, yes. And as I'm listening and thinking, what more can I do? Again, the North Carolina Coalition for Inclusion and Not
Hmm.
Expulsion, we are looking for other committed people like you and I who
Hmm.
may have resources that we don't know about, that we can put out there for anyone to be able to see and to
Hmm.
be available.
Hmm.
We do presentations.
Hmm.
We're wanting to be more visible out within the
Good.
community. We are looking at starting restorative practice circles with adults because it's adults who must initially change their minds set and shift before we can change with the children.
Mm-hmm.
So we, as a part of that coalition, Dr. Bell, are looking at ways to really do the shift and to rethink because we cannot continuously do the same things that we have done. And we must be more intentional in being culturally responsive and really helping those to understand the
Hmm.
Black African American heritage and how to bring it into the environment so that this child is feeling I am worthy and to
Mm.
know that they are kings and queens and this is a
Mm.
part of who you are when you're walking into. So again, that's another piece of it. And I would love to do a follow up with you and anyone else because this is part of the platform that we need. Because again, I may not know all that you are doing.
Sure.
And when it comes to those, the Black authors who have books that are out here and talk about the importance and going out into our schools, our early care and education, child care centers, reading with our children, going to various events, because that's what is needed because I need to see someone who looks like me. When
Hmm.
I was growing up, I'm not sure where you grew up, Dr. Bell, but primarily I came from a very PW county.
Hmm.
So my thing was for me is I want to go to a HBCU because I want to
Hmm.
see people who look like me doing some phenomenal things. And that is why I attended North Carolina Central University
Absolutely,
because
we did.
ego pride to
Yes.
see blackness in its finest.
Yes.
And that is what I want to see our children see when I am walking up and engaging and going, well, good morning, King. How are you? And they're looking at me like, what?
Hmm.
And it's like, no, engage this child in a conversation Tell me about what you're doing. Oh, I love your hair. Because we have the Crown Act, and for a lot of our young girls in particularly, because of the various textures, that they'll say, oh, I have ugly hair. What is ugly hair? I don't know
Right.
what that means. So again, just really trying to um, reinforce the beauty, the greatness
Hmm.
that we have as a people. I love the book Melanin because
Hmm.
my sister is of a darker hue than I am. And people will say, well, why does she look like that? And why do you look like this? Well, we need to talk about melanin and then to understand the beauty of the shades that we come from.
Hmm.
Because my grandmama said, God did not make any ugly shades. He knew exactly the one to give you. So I'm thankful for the ones that he gave within my family, which is really verse. Okay, I'm sorry, Dr. Bill, because
No, you're
again,
good. I
we
have
have you on a passion.
enjoyed this. You in providing a rich and insightful discussions. I'm going to end here because I think we probably can talk a little longer, but we're not. I'm going to be respectful for time. But thank you so much, Dr. Williamson, for being a part of the series Preschool to Prison Pipeline. And I really appreciate it. And we will be in contact again. So
Thank you.
thank you, thank you, thank you.